Hey guys, how's it going? Let's have a little talk about No Man's Sky. One of the cool things about it is it's procedurally generated world, and you know, literally endless of amounts. No, not endless, and not literally, but ton of unique. Well, not really. Tons of stuff that's different from other stuff that's randomly done. Though I feel like the plants, especially, but as well the animals are a bit lacking in changes. I mean, I saw the video where he was demonstrating all this stuff, right? And can I get that cube? And whatever. And so he shows the world, the animals and stuff generating. He's like, okay, let's generate some more, and they're all completely different. So I thought everything was going to be completely different, much like that video. However, they tend to be all big, similar parts stacked together. But here's the problem with procedurally generated worlds not done or programmed correctly. How does this make any sense at all about anything? I mean, not even that's on the ground. This is supposed to be a professional game, and I get that, you know. It's hard to do. You know, Minecraft is all blocks on the ground, and we accept that its physics aren't real physics. But I mean, if you're going to do this, you have to do it correctly, and you can't have stuff like that. It doesn't look real. It's not immersive. It's just bad. It looks like bad 3D modeling from an era where they were just developing 3D models. I mean, I can't think of a Xbox game, not even one or 360 original Xbox game that had, you know, problems this bad when it comes to their 3D modeling connecting to other models. I mean, I found two other places. There's one place around here which I can't buy, which is another fucking problem with this game. How do you refine things you've already found? I mean, you know what an effective way to do that would be? Hit escape. Go to waypoints. And then just, you know, have some sort of system where you can press a button and it will send you to you know, that area, right? Like put up a waypoint or something. See, here's what I'm saying about, it's not even on different, it's the same planet. You know, and you know, I guess you could make the argument that, you know, genetically speaking, they evolved together, and that's why they're so similar. And you know, that's a fair argument to make. But when you've seen that body type on 20 different planets, it becomes a bit of a bullshit argument, right? Oh, that was the wrong button. But yeah, so once you found something, you can't ever go back to it again once you leave the planet because there's no way to find it again. And I mean, I feel like that, you know, removes part of the joy of exploration, going back to those places you found. But somewhere around here, and you can keep looking, I guess, is one of those manufacturing facilities I was just in. That's why I was there. I was trying to find the original one. But all the doors on that manufacturing facility are in the side of mountains. I'm just going to come in. See, this is exactly what I'm talking about. This is it's I mean, let's take. They got some landers out, and that makes it look like it makes a bit more sense. But I mean, that doesn't look like a professionally done game, especially when you have, you know, manufacturing facilities and other facilities where the doors are in the side of mountains, so you can't get into them, and stuff hanging off the ground. So it's impossible to none of it looks real or immersive, and it's not the quality I would expect from a supposedly finished game. You know, Krendor, I'm a big fan of Krendor, made a great point in his video about it. He said it was a great $24 early access game. And I mean, he's right. It doesn't feel finished. I mean, there's stuff hanging off. It doesn't look like anything was really put there. It feels like they generated the world and then randomly put all this stuff in random places. I mean, I get to a degree that is true, but there's ways around that, right? You can program your game so that, you know, every time it places something, it makes a test. Is this manufacturing layer's door next to, you know, a mountain? And test it. And if yes, it doesn't place or tries to move. If no, it places. And even if you didn't, you could add more than one door if that was going to be the case. Right? Have a door, instead of one opening, have a couple, and so that way, even if one gets blocked up by a thing, it's still connected to other stuff. Is this the... no, this is... oh shit, I think this is... no, this isn't the one. This is where we were. Going around in circles. But it's just... it's sloppy. It's unfinished. It looks bad. And in some cases, it's game hindering. I had one not that long ago where I was just walking along mining and I just fell through the floor. And look at that. How is that an actual landing of any kind? Right? But and you say, well, how are you going to land on random stuff? You don't have to land on random stuff. We have where are those places? The outposts and the and whatnot, where there's the landing pads. Just make it mandatory to find one of those pads and land on that, then explore outwards from there. You know, that would make sense. And look at this, a lot of these places are spawning on flat grounds. Why can't you just limit it to spawning there? It's bad. Right, look, right, that's the same I'm talking about. You can fly over and it's impossible to fucking land these things properly ever. No, missed. Because you can't see below you or anything. That takes forever to... then maneuvering this is a serious pain. There we go. Now just slowly come around. Yeah. But I'm just everywhere you go. Like that's at least to a degree believable because it goes in. But you got like this slightly floating one there. You got a floating one there. This looks fine. These do not. And this is just I just went to 5. Well, I don't know if I went to 5. I just went to a few different places and they all had the same problem. Right? None of their plants or rocks have that problem. Those all grow naturally. Right? I have yet to see a floating rock. Well, unintentionally floating rock. Or any floating plants. Yet these outposts apparently seem to have that problem. I mean, it feels like I wouldn't have minded. Right, they delayed this game a couple of times. And I don't mind it if they, you know, want to spend an extra time finishing it to make it a good game. But, you know, they try to finish it. They took time off to finish it and make it a good game, and it's still unfinished. I mean, a bunch of the stuff, the multiplayer still isn't implemented. Right, look at this. This is ridiculous. Oh, I got that. Right, and this is a problem. This is just it's bad level design. It's sloppy. It can be game hindering in certain circumstances. This might be an example of one of those. No, that looks a bit too workable. Yeah, no, look at this. How am I supposed to get in that? How do you get in that? See, this is what I mean by game hindering. You know, fortunately, you know, the first one I had to go to get like the recipes to craft the warp cores and stuff, the warp batteries or whatever. That was over. But what if it had been like this? And now I can't progress in the game. I mean, there's not much to really. There isn't any real progression in this game, from what I can tell, aside from getting nicer ships or going further into getting to the center. But any progression you do need could be destroyed by like glitches. I mean, I feel like this isn't even really glitches. This is just poor level design. Right? Glitches, earlier I was mining and I fell through the world. That's a glitch. This is just the computer doing what it's been programmed to do. And I'm asserting that it has been programmed poorly. And is not doing a good job based on how it's been programmed. And I get there's going to be some issues with anything procedurally generated. To a degree, I mean, Minecraft doesn't have any real procedurally generated issues, unless you went back to old Minecraft, in which case you had the Farlands, which were an issue. But that gave you tons of playable, workable world before it became problematic. This is just... It doesn't look real. It breaks immersion. It's just poor craftsmanship. And I mean, I'd forgive if a couple of them were like this and be like, oh, that's kind of funny. But everyone you go to is like this. At least in my game. I mean, I've just took you a few, and it's like this, and I get it's difficult to program, but it's not impossible. At least you could make it so not everyone spawns like this. You could have it only spawn on flat terrains of a certain size. You could have actual... Here's the big problem with the planet. If I go anywhere else on this planet, it's going to look similar to this. There's some places with a bit more vegetation, but for the most part it's going to look like this. If you could have actual plains and actual flatlands instead of just calling it that, you know, that would be way more interesting. And you could have actual plains where stuff like that could land. But they don't, and so it spawns in places where it doesn't make sense. You could do the thing I talked about earlier, just make sure the doors aren't near things. But, you know, you'd still get that, and that'd be problematic. But you could have it say, don't spawn in walls. You could have it so it checks around it or in it for hills or whatever. And if it does, don't spawn there. I mean, that decrease the amount of spawns in, sure. But what you could do instead is you could have it programmed to do planes relatively, you know, every once in a while. You could have like one big plane area, and then the rest of it. I mean, it doesn't have to. Each planet's very similar, right? But you could have a couple different forms. You could have planets where there is one plane, and then the rest you can't. There's nowhere to land, and you have to explore those on foot. I mean, sure, you may not like that planet, but you could have a bunch of different ones, and people who don't want to explore that could leave and go to another planet, and then there are people who would explore that. I mean, you could go to the edge and there's like a mountain region. You have to climb through the mountains and hopefully get back. Or something, I don't... What's that? Oh, it's just one of those. But, you know, the way it is right now is sloppy, it's unimmersive, it's unprofessional. I mean, can you think of a game that has had this level of 3D model / leveling issues in it? I mean, Minecraft to a degree has some stuff when it comes to like their dungeons and their temples and their oceans and whatnot, desert and ocean temples and all those. But I mean, those were older editions. I don't know if they're still having issues with those. And even when it was, I never had like a room in a temple that I couldn't enter because it was filled with, you know, some sort of material. That may just be me, but I don't remember that ever happening. So it's not that you definitely can't, and yeah, No Man's Sky is a more complex. It's not made out of square blocks. And so yeah, of course it's going to be harder, but that doesn't mean you just don't do it. Right? I mean, no one looks at like any of the 3D Marios and said, yeah, well, you know, this one it takes a look at it. This one has, you know, horrible mechanics, but it's 3D, so it's fine. Right? That makes no sense. You can't just say do a more complex game and then do it sloppy and say, oh, it's a more complex game, so you know, it's bound to be a bit more difficult. You know, if you're going to do a more complex game, you have to actually do it. And I feel like, based off of what we've seen so far, it's clearly failed in terms of its level design. Which, in a game that's entirely about exploring, is a bit of a problem. Wouldn't you say? That stuff looked cool, so I decided to go take a look at it. But yeah, I mean, it's hard to figure out why I really should bother exploring at all. I've stayed on this planet, so I've played this for, it would have been since last Sunday, so about a week. It's been a week since I initially played and since I am playing now. But I don't think I've only spent a few hours in it. And I mean, it seems to be all the same sort of terrain. Hilly areas with caves. And that appears to be it. There aren't any actual flatlands or... I mean, I've seen a couple of mountains. But... I mean, that appears to be it. And I haven't really seen any forests. I've seen some decently heavy vegetative areas, but nothing much more than that. And where am I going? I'm going this way. And I mean, for a game whose key purpose is exploration, you'd think there'd be more than that. And like, one of the big things you said was you can explore all the well, not all the planets. You can explore a bunch of planets or just one planet. I mean, how is this any different from any other place on this planet? You know, it seems... I don't know if it's just so big I'm missing out, but I don't see an Arctic region. Or anything like that. I don't know, it's just for a game that is supposed to be entirely focused on its exploration, you'd think level design might be a bit more important. I mean, it has potential, right? I mean, this thing looks super cool. I'm not really sure where I'm supposed to go or what I'm supposed to do with it. I mean, I thought it was a temple, but I don't see anything to press. But I mean, it's fine to do just cool shit on its own. But it's just... they're so diversely spread out on a planet that is so samey to itself. I'm not really sure what the point is. I can only ever see this once because there's no way for me to come back to it. because there's no way I can put down a beacon. I mean, even... No, I guess it'd be a bit too much to expect them to do hieroglyphics that seem to mean anything, but... I don't really... I just... The level designs are poor, sloppy, and amateurish. And I mean, I'd rather have procedurally generated worlds can be done in a cool way. Minecraft, you know, isn't very fancy, but it feels like you're exploring a blocky version of a real place. I'd rather have a game like Subnautica, which has a limit, but has a bunch of interesting features, than a game which does procedurally generation is almost endless, but doesn't have any real method of exploration, or any real place to explore. And that's a problem with a game that is all about exploration. Right, let's go up. Oh, of course it's clearing. I'm leaving the atmosphere. Alright, so there we are. Let's go. No, a bit too close. Okay. Back to the moon. Let's go pick a random place. Oh, freighters. Right, so let's pick a random place. Let's pick... Where's the sun? Where would the pole be? The sun's there. So it's hitting the planet like that. So I'm guessing the pole would be somewhere there. Let's go right there. Let's go up a bit. Hold up, this might have... I may have actually just gone to the moon, as opposed to the actual one. Let's take a... That may have been... That may have been a oh, no. That's it. So we're just going to a random place on this map. Let's go here. And we're coming in for the landing. I'm not actually going to land, but here we are. Completely different section of the planet. That looks kind of special. But, I mean, look around. Same plants, same vegetation, same rocks, same terrain, same everything. You'd expect, you know, go further north. Arctic. Go, you know, equator, tropical. You'd have different plants in those areas, different things like that. And I mean, you know, that may be a lot to program, and, you know, that might be expecting too much of a game. But in my defense, that's what it seemed like they were offering. That's what, to me, a planet to explore would mean. I mean, if it's the same thing, it's not really a planet to explore. Why would anyone bother? Right? See what I'm saying? There wouldn't be any point. But everything is just the same on the planet. And that's not what an actual planet would be like. Realize now this has kind of become a bit of a mindless rant. I've realized now I've actually seen this exact fucking ruin before. I don't know. Take out my aggression on the animals. Oh, I think that's, yeah. It's 66 bucks. When AAA games, usually in my experience, have been 60 bucks, $59.99. That being said, I've been playing indies for the past couple of years, so it may have gone up. But so AAA finished game title for that price, and it feels like it's not done. I mean, he's talking about doing the updates and stuff. I was watching the thing. He's going to add base building. I mean, I feel like base building is a pretty big mechanic that would have been central. And you know, there's the aspects are missing, like the multiplayer. It's just a bit of a shit show, really. And you know, I really want to really like this game, and to a degree, I do like this game. It's just not that good in comparison to other games of a similar nature. I mean, the ruined stuff. I mean, the first two are the first one you get with the where like the eagle and the gex and the whatnot. I don't know how it was for you, but that was mine, and that was the same as the guy I worked with, his first ruin. That was cool. And then it's just the same ruin. You click a button, you get a new word. And it's similar features, and the hieroglyphics mean nothing. Just everything's a disappointment. I mean, it's just not as good as it could be. It's not as good as what was promised, and it's not as good as what should be, and I don't think it was worth the money. Now that I've played it for a few days. And that's disappointing. Right, it's basically the same thing. See, this is a bit different, which is a bit cooler, and there's a couple of these, but more often it's just you click stuff and it gives you... I've actually done this one before. I've done this exact one before on a different planet. This is literally... That's even worse. Because now it ruins the experience of the first one, because I was like, oh, that's an interesting, you know, single one, and, you know, 2 planets later I get the same one. I mean, I'm not expecting them to do an individual one for each planet. That'd be ridiculous. But what you could do is create a bunch of those narratives and throw them all around the place, instead of doing ones that just do nothing, or a couple that have something. Because there's a bunch of those where it's just gain a new word, and I haven't gotten anything out of that. I haven't gotten any tetrahedrons or birds. So I mean, either you do a bunch of different narratives and throw them together, and then you try and find them all, or you don't. Can't really do a mix of the two, I don't think. So I mean, if you get one that's really interesting, and then get 5 that's none, and then get that one interesting one again. Also, alternatively, you could have a Mad Libs. Right, you could have one where it's, basic stuff, and then nouns you replace with animals, named animals on the planet. Or you could have one where something takes place in a named place on the planet. That would be interesting and unique to the planet. But it's literally, it's just the same thing over and over again on every planet, no diversity at all. And I think at this game, that's supposed to be about finding unique things and new places, really suffers because of that. That's pretty much, I just wanted to rant a bit about the game, and that's pretty much it. Thanks for watching.